Hello, I'm Michael Maloney. If I could teach you how to teach children 2 years worth of reading in 32 instructional hours, would you be interested? I'm the founder of Moloney Method. I am a teacher, a principal, a school psychologist, and one of Canada's National Literacy Educator Award winners. In my learning center, I've been successfully teaching students for the last 40 years. My colleagues and I have taught an estimated 100,000 individuals how to read so far. It's actually quite easy. For example, thousands of homeschoolers have used the Moloney Method successfully. Some of my colleagues are volunteers in a community-based literacy program sponsored by my Rotary Club at our local YMCA and at an outreach church. Some of these tutors are senior high school students who are teaching disadvantaged elementary school students to read. They are excellent tutors, as seen by the results of their students. I'd like to tell you a story about some difficult children that I worked with. They were a dozen foster children who were well behind in school. Foster children have a harder road to hoe than most children. 60% of them will not graduate high school. Their lives are a little less stable. They often get bounced around from one foster home to another. I actually know of one girl who has all of her worldly possessions in a green garbage bag. It's not that these children are not intelligent. They're simply lost in the systems that they have to deal with. A few years ago, the Children's Aid Society called and asked if we could help teach some of their children better reading skills. They had 12 children in two groups of 6, aged 11 years to 16 years of age and at least 2 years behind in their reading. They wanted to meet with us once a week, but for 2 hours at a time, beginning at 6 o'clock and ending at 8 o'clock. So these children would, in fact, come home from school, be fed dinner, get back in the car, give up all their free time, and come to something they were really looking forward to, a reading program. Oftentimes they were dropped off by cab. The Moloney Method depends on performance data in order to know what to do. So I asked Sylvia, one of my staff, to keep the data on the students as I did the teaching. I then arranged 6 chairs in a semicircle in front of the whiteboard. And on the top of the whiteboard, I laid out 6 chocolate bars. The coolest kid went to the farthest chair possible and sat down. I immediately moved him right to the center. One of the students looked up and saw the chocolate bars and said, "What are those for?" I said, "I can't tell you until everyone's seated." They all came and sat down. Then the child said again, "What are those for?" And I turned to the whiteboard, and under a diagram that had a happy face and a sad face, with me written above the happy face, I made a mark. I said, "I get 1 point. You forgot to put up your hand." "But how was I supposed to know that?" he said. I said, "Well, you did it again. I just got another point." Then he put up his hand and said, "What are those for?" I said, "Good remembering. Your team just got 1 point because you put up your hand, and I gave them a point." Here's the way it works. Every time I see you do something I like, you get points. Every time I see something that I'm not happy with, I get points. I never lose. I will get more points than you will. They went to work. During the next hour, they worked very diligently. They did everything they could to make sure they got points for their team and that I didn't catch them doing something wrong. At the end of an hour, I said to them, "Time out. You guys are ahead by 2 points. The restrooms are down the hall on the left. If you are back in your chairs in less than 4 minutes, I will give you 4 bonus points. Go ahead." Well, they all returned in less than 4 minutes. I had to give them their 4 bonus points, plus 1 for listening carefully to my instructions. I also cut one of the chocolate bars into 6 pieces. and I gave them each one small piece with the instruction that this will be the last piece you'll be tasting because I'm going to win the rest. I play best when I play from behind, and in the second half, I am going to beat you. Well, they buckled down, and by the end of the night, they had earned 2 more points than I had. I actually had to go to my office and get an extra chocolate bar because we'd eaten one. As they were finishing, I gave them a worksheet. It had all the words that they had learned to read that day. They had learned an entire week's worth of reading in 2 hours. And as the first person headed out the door, I said, wait, I just gave you a handout. I do not want you to be studying that handout. There's a rematch next week, and I never lose twice. So whatever you do, do not study that handout. Sure enough, the next week they came back, they were on fire. They won the second game by 5 points, and they continued to learn an entire week's reading in 1 week, in 1 2-hour session. Basically, in week 2, they won by 5 points. They got 6 chocolate bars and the bragging rights, and we introduced a system to give them gift certificates for points earned in the classroom. They could be gift certificates to movies or restaurants or their favorite store, and we did that for the rest of the 16 weeks. On average, these children gained 2 years of reading in 32 hours of instruction. But what really happened here? What happened was that these children changed. They saw themselves as winners, not losers. They became fluent learners of sounds, sound combinations, word lists, and stories. They were confident, almost cocky, ready for challenges. School became easier. Some of them even won reading awards at their schools. That's because these were smart, hardworking kids who were working and using a good system. So if you know a child or have a child who's having difficulty reading, please pass this information on. We'd be happy to help you.